Alright guys, welcome to today's video. This is going to be a quicker one. It's a beautiful day. I'm not in the studio right now because when I record in the studio it requires me to be at school, so we're filming this on a Sunday. Fortunately, it's not a school day. And I just want to talk about something that has been in the community of filmmaking and something that has been very largely complained about, which is Sony colors, how to make them work better for your needs. And obviously that is such a objective just conversation, and my picture profile might not be the one that you like. My version of Log-3 or 2 might not be the one that you enjoy using. But so today we're just gonna have a conversation about it, and I want to start by just noting and acknowledging Caleb Pike from DSLR Video Shooter. He made a video just on how to fix your Sony colors, and this was regarding S-Log-2, and he stated that S-Log-3 is pretty much unusable in the 8-bit 420 shooting modes that most Sony mirrorless cameras are capable of. And right now we're shooting on the Sony a7 III 8-bit 420 in 1080p, 50 megabits per second. I know it's a lot of numbers, it might not make any sense to you, but the point is we're using S-Log-3. And how does it look? Does it look good? Does it look unusable? But in today's video we're going to be talking about S-Log-3 and just the log profile. What are some ways to optimize it for better, more natural looking skin tones, and just to make it more usable once you start grading and color correcting your footage. Okay, so what Caleb recommended is that when you're shooting an S-Log-2 that you use the ITU 709 matrix. That's basically just a color mode that you can select within your customization of your picture profile. And so I tried that with S-Log-2. I also tried it with S-Log-3. I did that first because I do love S-Log-3. I hate using my camera knowing that I'm kind of crippling the dynamic range, and I want to make S-Log-3 as usable as possible. And I feel like that we have done exactly that today. But using the 709 matrix that Caleb Pike recommended in S-Log-2, it didn't look good. Colors looked really fake and almost as if there was just too much luminance and there was a weird tint to all of my colors, but especially with the skin tones, things started looking really magenta, and that problem only worsened when I put S-Log-3 in the ITU 709 matrix mode. So I began searching for a better solution because I know creators are using this, and it's not bad that they're using this, but one thing that really just made me aware of the problem was that Matty Hapoya made a video on the Sony a7C, and in that video he complained that the skin tones looked really magenta, and that might not be even a problem that the camera itself has, because allegedly the a7C has been updated with a different color science than the a7 III, so that shouldn't be a problem. I think the problem is using that 709 ITU matrix, which he did admit to using. He thanked Caleb Pike for making the video on it, explaining why that is better for Sony's S-Log-2, but in my opinion, it just really isn't, and it gives you exactly what Matty complained about, which was those magenta skin tones. So if that's a look that you're into and you like your skin tones to be a little bit on the more magenta tint side, then why not go for it? It's totally fine. I don't really care what you shoot with or what color profile mode you're using. But for me, what I found best, what I found to work the best for me is I watched a video by Dunna Did It. He's a YouTuber from Canada, and he made his video on how to make S-Log-2 more usable. And basically his thing was just pump the saturation all the way to the top, and then it looks a little bit better and it doesn't fall apart as quickly. And so I wanted to kind of take those two tips, what Caleb Pike said, in basically not using the S-Gamut Cine, I think that's what it's called. So basically avoiding that, but also utilizing the in-camera saturation boost, that option that we do have. So what I did is I went through all of the different color modes. There are some really bad ones, like S-Gamut 3 Cine and monochrome. Those were pretty horrible, but it was close. And what I found is that the cinema mode gives you the least amount of magenta tint to everything. So when you go to the color mode, basically where it gives you the option to select the ITU 709 matrix, instead of selecting that, select cinema. And then you'll want to go to your saturation and pump your saturation all the way up to 32. What I also chose to do is under the black levels, or maybe it's the gamma, go into that section as well, drop the number to -7 and put the level to narrow. This will ensure that your black levels are just as low as possible, giving you better contrast straight out of camera so that you don't really have to push the contrast in post as much. which will prevent your footage from falling apart. And one problem that I did notice, this was only with S-Log-3. I haven't tried this out with S-Log-2, but I do know that it does fix the problem. I haven't fully customized S-Log-2 just because I'm not really planning on using it. I really want to use S-Log-3 when I can. And then for lower light situations, I'll be using HLG-1 because that is the color profile that handles noise the best when it comes to HLG. But when I was looking at the S-Log footage, S-Log-3, it looked better. It looked much better and more natural. However, my colors didn't quite look right. Reds didn't look like the deep reds that I was actually seeing in person. And the same goes for blues. So under the color, oh man, I don't know what any of these things are called. And I can't see them. Let me just double check. So under the color depth mode, what that does is basically the higher number that you select, the lower luminance that it's gonna have, which will also kind of deepen the saturation and make the colors appear like actually darker, but also like a darker tint of the color. So it'll just change the way that your selected color looks. And basically what I did was with the red and the blues, I set those levels to +5. And so that made things look more natural to me. And then with every other color, except for the yellow, because when you select the yellow and then you start to mess with that level, think about it, white balancing, a lot of colors in the image that you're gonna be shooting in, pretty much no matter where you are, unless you're using like crazy RGB lights, yellow is a big part of that. So when you start messing with the yellow, it's gonna start messing with like how bright your actual image is. And so I didn't wanna really do that because the higher that you pump the yellow number in the color phase, the higher you're gonna have to overexpose your S-Log. But the lower that you drop the color phase for the yellow, the less contrast you're gonna have in the image as well. So I just left that at 0, but every other color I set to either +1 or +2. You guys can eyeball it and see what looks best for you. Because in the end, messing with the color phase did add better saturation and even better contrast within colors, and my image just looked more pleasing straight out of the camera. So I know, it is compelling to use HLG-3 as opposed to some of these S-Log options. Why would you want to use S-Log-3 if you can use HLG-3 and get similar amounts of dynamic range? Well, S-Log-3 retains highlights much better than HLG-3 does, and so by using S-Log-3, you're going to be able to have a much more high contrasty image. And when I say contrast, I mean like different kinds of lighting in your frame at once. So I can have really bright highlights and really dark shadows and really capture detail in every lighting scenario. So that's why I enjoy using S-Log-3. Let me know what you guys thought about this video. Go ahead, try it for yourself. If you're shooting 8-bit Sony, this was really the best that I could make S-Log-3. And if you throw some similar customization into S-Log-2, I guarantee you it's going to work better for you than the ITU 709 Matrix will. I don't like that mode. It looks fake. It just looks fake to me. Like nothing. I don't like it. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Give it a like if you found any of these tips to be interesting. Again, I'm not hating on Caleb Pike. I think he makes great content. He knows a lot more about gear, color science, everything than I do. But in my testing, this is what worked much better for me. So I just figured that I would share that with you guys. Subscribe to my channel. We are uploading videos every Monday and Thursday at 4 p.m. We'll see you in the next one.